morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you love life as much as I do. Things are going great. Who could complain? Quentin, 123. Quentin P, 123. Good morning. Way to go, Quentin. You're first today. Good morning, Matt. Hope you're doing great. Daniel. Good morning, Breakup Gang. Ben, we love it. Good morning, team. What a wonderful day to be a Bitcoiner. Most days are. Good morning. My dogs don't know about daylight savings. Racist dogs. Did they get up early on you, Tommy? Does it make us? Which one is where we get more racist? Yeah, it's this one. This is where we're more racist, right? Because of the falling back. We get more racist if we fall back. I don't really know. I can't really do the math on it. It's like complicated how time change affects our relative racism, right? We'll see. Good morning, Double B. Hope you're doing great, Aqualodge. Yo, what's up? And it's a yo to Austin. Austin, hope you're doing great. Hope life in Puerto Rico. Some people like to say Porto. Puerto. One of the classic Trump lines of all time. Beaumatin, good morning, Bitcoiners. B for victory. Jevy, hope you're doing great. Good morning. I sent Jevy a advanced copy of the NPC guide yesterday. I needed his help. Made it. Huddle T, good morning. Hope you're doing great. Robert, what's up? P-Man, sup all? Thomas, it is indeed morning. Let's make it a great day. We're gonna. Jeremy, hope you're doing great, my man. Sun's up in Moscow time, and all things that want to run ought to be built on Bitcoin. I think they will be. Austin, did you see the article Racist Origins of Pumpkin Spice? I think I did, but I think it's an older article, Austin. That's why I didn't use it. I'm not sure, though, but I've seen a few of that genre. Don't worry. I've seen that genre. But speaking of genres, well, hold on. Let's just acknowledge, right, that our Sunrise tech is working perfect. No problem with the cosmic nature of it. It's fine, right? Bitcoin also working perfect. Okay, so let's have some coffee and talk about what is new. But let's start by talking about what is new and fake. Okay, so this is one of my favorite genres of Moscow time. What did I tell you were going to see this week? Right now we know it's not just that we cover the news here, right? We cover the news before it's even written. What did we say was going to happen this week? We said the fake news was going to have to write a hit piece on Mr. Beast. We said for sure they would write it. Remember when he cleared blindness from people? Tons of fake news articles about what a jerk he is. He's racist. So we said, look, there's no way there's not going to be another story after he built the wells, right? And luckily, Yahoo News didn't leave us hanging. I wasn't sure what angle they were going to use here, right? I didn't know exactly what flavor the fake news would be around him. All I did was say that we had to look out for a hit piece on Mr. Beast this week because he went out and did something like drill wells in Africa and embarrass the UN. So it had to happen. What do we get? Yahoo News. While American YouTuber Mr. Beast's goal was to provide clean drinking water for 500,000 people. 500,000 people. That's his goal. Activists say his actions shamed the Kenyan government and helped perpetuate the stereotype that Africa is dependent on handouts. Fucking jerk. What an asshole. Mr. Beast, you cocksucker. Get the fuck out of here. Fucking helping people. Sorry about all the swearing. I didn't mean. I know some of you, it's breakfast time. I don't want to get such bad potty language and sewer shit around you. It's bad vibes. So let's not do too much of it, right? But what a jerk. What a jerk. What was he thinking, right? His goal was cool, all right? They admit that, right? Right? His goal was cool. Let's help 500,000 people. He embarrassed them. And he's sitting there smiling. Jesus. Right now, remember the story yesterday we were talking about where the somehow gravity screwed up and a road hit a Jewish guy in the head in LA and he died, even though he was having a fight with someone. That's not how it was reported. It was reported that either gravity gave way or the street actually erupted from some kind of a earthquake and killed the guy, right? So we're getting some confirmation of that event, right? We're getting some confirmation that that's what happened exactly, right? It wasn't that someone hit him, right? We have both Time and CNN now backing up the story we heard yesterday from ABC, right? So Time says Jewish man in California dies after confrontation, right? So he had a confrontation. Now, they don't mention when gravity gave way, but confrontation, right? CNN says, here's another one. Jewish man dies from head injury following interaction with pro-Palestinian demonstrator. Again, what we seem to see here is they had a confrontation and an interaction, and then he just died. He just died. Okay, there's no cause and effect there. It's after, but that's like after breakfast, right? He had breakfast and then he died, right? Or in this case, he had an interaction or a confrontation and then he died. Again, gravity seems to not be working great. It's just something's going on in California. Now, I think it's probably the earthquake thing. They're just not reporting. I guess earthquakes are shooting ground up into the air. I would prefer if they just reported that story. I get it. It's going to freak people out that gravity's not working well. So they don't really want to tell that part of the story, right? I get it. I get it. So WeWork has filed for bankruptcy. And I just want to show you how they were treated by the media just a few years ago. Look at the brilliance here. And I think they used science. This is from Fast Company. All right. I think they might even use AI to figure this out. Okay. Like we're going to talk about AI today. We love AI, right? We love it. It's fun. It's going to protect you from fake news. We're going to talk about the Accelerate or Die party last night that happened in San Francisco. So, you know, we're all interested in what AI can do to help us get out of this mess, right? It really helped WeWork, and we wonder why they're going bankrupt. But here's an actual sentence from a Fast Company article. For example, this is to show how avant-garde they were once. This is to show how smart everyone over at WeWork used to be, right? How could they have ended up in bankruptcy? Let's see what the Moscow Times says. For example, all right, they had sensors installed near an office's main floor self-serve coffee station, okay? Right, so they put sensors there, it had some AI going on it, right? And what they found out was, oh my God, more people were lining up in the morning for coffee. All right. So WeWork was able to discern from this. This is straight from them, right? They put sensors installed near the office's main floor self-serve coffee station, which helped WeWork discern that the morning lines were too long and they needed to add an extra barista. Boom. What a company. How did they ever go out of business? They were using AI to figure out coffee lines in the morning. Holy Moses. Science at its best. Way to go, guys. This one's beautiful. This is great. So it looks like Nouriel Roubini is putting out a shitcoin. I can't make this up, guys. It's too perfect. Roubini, the Nobel Prize fancy pants, who I've actually hung out with before, used to come and hang out in our office in New York a lot. He's totally different in real life. He's an actual character on Twitter. He's just trolling. I'm not sure what motivates his trolling, but he's a totally different person in real life. I got to know that. It's one of those weird cases where you can really tell people put on a character for their Twitter thing. But here's what it comes out with. Nouriel Roubini launching his own investment token offering, right? It's enabled by AI, ML, climate technology, and guess what? Blockchain. Roubini's in the blockchain game. It's not a joke. I'll give you some of the advertisement. Building a digital currency for resiliency. Okay, guys, these are going to have some resiliency. The Atlas Climate Token. Atlas Trust for Land Adaptation and Sustainability. To respond to the negative effects of climate change and promote accessible and scalable returns. They're going to do this. Roubini, and Roubini puts on his when he's doing the marketing for this, he puts on the concerned Jake Tapper and fake news media. I'm really worried about the future. Help us. I'm an economist. We need help. The world's dying. Global environmental possible solutions, right? So they're going to harness fintech innovation for good. Atlas democratizes, guys. It's democratizing it. Access to modern investment solutions, providing global communities with a tech-enabled, more stable digital store of value and a means of payment backed by sophisticated climate investment products traditionally only available to high net worth individuals. Remember when I told you yesterday, generational financial crime is a must? It's a must. You must do it. You don't have a choice anymore. And finally, I've got one more, right? One more from The Guardian. Climate fatigue isn't a sign that Europeans are in denial. Okay, they're not in denial. Climate fatigue is not denial. It's a sign of fear. They're just afraid, guys. They're just afraid. All right. While Europe is battered by the climate crisis, governments must reassure voters that green costs will be fairly shared. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Now, if you didn't see it last night, there was a huge party in San Francisco. Grimes was DJing. Eric Voorhees took to the DJ thing. And the whole point was to start raising awareness around the decentralization needs for AI. Of course, AI, I think, is needs decentralization as much as money. It's almost as pressing, right? Because the way I've been talking about AI is that it can help provide the cognitive balance we require in order to navigate our way through media, politics, and everything in order to actually get to this Bitcoin standard. I continue to believe that Bitcoin and AI are symbiotically connected. That's why I wrote the book, Satoshi Wedding Murders. Already in 2016, I had a pretty good idea, I think anyway, of how AI and Bitcoin would connect. So what we saw yesterday was this conversation around the need to decentralize an AI. And indeed, that's what it looks like, right? Because if AI was allowed to be free, was allowed to be decentralized, if you were allowed to choose your own adventure with AI as your guide, like a little bit like what we're seeing with Grok on Twitter, although Grok is certainly not decentralized. Let's all say that, right? It is controlled by Twitter. We don't know what its preoccupations are. We don't know. It's not being trained by individuals, okay? But nevertheless, we can have a bit of we can say we're moving in the right direction because it's at least of a different flavor than the other AI we've been getting since now, which seems to have a bit of Democrat wokeness baked into it, which is fine. You would imagine there would be some AI trained by individuals who are wokey, and it would be that way. But when you only have one kind, you're kind of in trouble. So Grok, I see as sort of it looks like it's biased towards Republicans and right-wingy things, but I don't know if that's exactly true, right? So it just looks like people have been testing it so far, and it's sort of producing predictable results within the continuum of political spectrum, right? So it's predictably more right. But I don't think it's going to stay that way. Now, what we've seen from what was just released as well by ChatGPT a few days ago, if you saw that, it's like all these apps that are now going to be, it was Sam Altman, you know, isn't it amazing again that, what a simulation wink, that the guy selling us AI at, you know, probably the most productive or noteworthy level, his name is Altman. The Altman is selling you AI. Crazy, right? So Altman sitting there selling you this AI. And if you saw, it was like a spread of all of these different apps. What Brian Romelli tells us is that these are basically super prompts, right? So we've been doing super prompts here for a while. I use super prompts. I've developed my own super prompt with ChatGPT, which is to write a poem. I usually get ChatGPT to write things in poems for me. Forces ChatGPT to keep things clean and tidy, to write in stanzas and short poems, indeed. So only about 5 or 6 paragraphs. And so that's a type of super prompt, right? So if you want it to write in a way that sort of tricks it into what you want to do, then you need these super prompts, which are ways to sort of corner the AI so that it forces a result that you want, right? So it does take a lot of skill. Prompt engineering AI takes incredible skill and practice. So it's not that easy. What these super prompt apps look like they're doing is they are going to be exactly that. They're super prompts that are packaged for you so that you don't have to do this every time. So an amazing innovation. I'm going to try them out, see if they work. I still haven't used Grok, but I can't wait. I think it's going to be great. Looking forward to it. Today's AI thumbnail was made with a separate program, by the way. It's the one I use whenever I need text. I could use Midjourney to do these. I wasn't getting a good result. It didn't understand exactly what I wanted somehow. I had some pretty cool ones. I had like the Gadsden snake in a one that didn't work, but it looked like a T-Rex face on a snake body and it was chasing someone. It's kind of okay, but didn't do it for me. And then I had to go and Photoshop the words into it because I wanted the accelerator die as part of this. So the reason I even did that is because they had a Gadsden flag at the party last night, and the Gadsden flag was made with prism art. You know how you make the decentralized prism kind of looking things like ETH does it all the time. But it really is that whole aesthetic of prisms denoting decentralized nodes. So instead of a centralized node cluster, as you know, you've seen all this prism art used many, many times to show decentralized chaotic networks. So they made a Gadsden flag out of that aesthetic and then wrote accelerate or die instead of live free or die. Just great branding. Right away I saw it and I said that could actually stick. So they had this huge party. Grimes, as I said, Eric Voorhees. Now, go back to what I was saying about AI being your friend and actually helping you monitor and stabilize your mental health, right? That's what I've been saying will be a big breakthrough with AI, is that as it can be your friend, as it can be your trusted confidant, if it's something that you even trained yourself, this is what Brian Romelli calls the human path for AI, that we each get our own and that we each train it ourselves, or at least one that's heavily trained in a direction that you can take the baton, finish the job. And anyway, the point of you training it is to establish more trust in this friend of yours so that it's on your team. Now, these things we can imagine are going to be designed, indeed, because they're not selfish humans. It's going to be immaterial to make them solely interested in you, focused on you, interested in what you need, interested in your optimized levels of dopamine, cortisol, all these things, right? It's going to be able to actually look at these things and say, hey, you should probably exercise today. It looks like your dopamine is a little low. Oh, you should probably go talk to some of your friends. Your oxytocin is really low, right? You haven't been around people enough lately. But more importantly, and this is why the decentralization need is there, it's to help protect us from fake news. It will be immaterial to show the fake news formula to an AI and get it to recognize it. I can do it on my own by predicting that Mr. Beast would have fake news articles written about him this week because he went and built wells in Africa. Like, we knew it immediately, right? So are you telling me that with my, feeble IQ, that AI couldn't notice the same trends, right? Now, compared to humans, I have a pretty good IQ, right? Did you guys, by the way, see that the confirmation bias, whatever video that's been going viral on the internet? It's amazing. It's like 6 people, and they took an IQ test, and they all had to predict the order of the IQs later. And it was another simulation wink where you have one of these obviously woke broads sitting there saying, so pardon me, Christine, if I'm being a jerk to females this morning. Sometimes we use the words broad in this way to be a jerk, indeed, to be a jerk. So this broad was sitting there saying, she was giving her predictions about everyone's IQ, and she put the white guy like last because he had no education. She put her obviously first, and she's like, because I have a master's, and she was telling him about the job that she did, right? And she's like, yeah, I got a master's, and yeah, I'm probably the highest IQ because I got a master's. And we do, we make COVID tests, like bragging about making COVID tests because she's so smart, right? And then the IQ numbers come out, and she's by far the lowest. She has a 112 IQ. Like, she's not far off being mentally retarded. She's not that far, right? And she's got a master's. Masters. That's amazing. And then the loser guy that she put at the bottom with no education, he was in the 130s. He's in the 130s. That's amazing, right? Oh, she put herself second, makes COVID tests. Yeah, she put herself second and makes COVID tests. Yeah. The second was probably just fake mind reading, but it's probably like fake humbleness. That I'm only second. I don't want to say I'm first, but I want second. It's great, right? So here's the thing. It's not just about protecting you from the truth, if you will, right? It's protecting you from ideas that are going to lead you to mental illness. So United States had a election day yesterday, and we're now, by the way, within 1 year of the next presidential election. We are now, everyone, embrace it. We're in an election year, right? So by this time next year, we'll have known what's broken. We'll have known if we accelerated or not. We'll know. We'll know if we've hit the gas and we've crushed the old world. We'll know the state and more or less the timeline of fiat within a year, right? We'll understand, I think, the future of the US dollar, the future of centralized states, all of it. It's going to, now it doesn't mean we win. We could at least know what our time horizon is. I continue to tell you that we're going to be on a Bitcoin standard globally by 2028. That's what I believe. Not because I think that Bitcoin is so attractive necessarily. That's not really where I'm coming from, right? The thing that keeps me up at night is Bitcoin going to be ready by 2028 to take over the super important jobs it has? I think so. I think it's rising. It's to the occasion, right? And I don't think when I say Bitcoin standard, remember, my vision is not that every pleb has Bitcoin and we have enough plebs and now we run the world. That's not what I'm saying, right? We had our head start. It's a historic anomaly. We got here first, probably necessary this way. Wonderful news for all of us. I continue to believe that the big money people will help leverage the separation of money and state, in particular the energy companies. So we're moving into a new phase of Bitcoin, and we'll know if we're there within a year. And by 2028, we'll have either eclipsed the whole thing or the world is complete dog shit. Those are my predictions, right? There could be a million ways in between. Those are the extremes that I see, right? So, the thing that Bitcoin can do, and if you saw these elections yesterday, right? So we had these elections yesterday. I only see mental illness now. I don't see people debating policy issues. That's not happening anymore. That's long gone, right? There was a video that went viral of a guy yesterday, which I don't even want to repeat the kind of craziness he was talking about because I can't even put it in context. He was just saying these absolutely unhinged things, right? Trump and something and something and blah, blah, blah. But it's Trump derangement syndrome at its absolute worst, right? Trump derangement syndrome at its absolute worst. Now, go back to this accelerationism thing, right? And this is why my 2028 timeline continues to be there. I'm ahead of most Bitcoiners as far as when I think we're going to get there. Now, again, when I first saw Trump, I thought accelerationism. I thought that's exactly what I thought. I thought he's so different. He's going to actually change reality around the job of president, around politics, around all of these things, right? Now, that was Trump 2016. When I understood what was happening in 2020, when I could see the vote changes, the COVID thing, all kinds of ballots being sent to my address in New York, I said simply, as an accelerationist, right? As an accelerationist, as a Bitcoiner, as someone who wants to see reality changed at its base fundamental level, at the L1 of reality, right? The base level of reality, I want it changed. And the only way we're going to get there is accelerationism. So as a Bitcoiner who loves Donald Trump, I embraced Joe Biden in about August, September 2020, not because I like him. No, I'm an accelerationist, right? I thought a confusing election where the media had to lie, where they were forced into brainwashing and forced to play their hand in every way possible to get everything out of the air, everything into the air, into the light, I thought was better, right? So as much as I would have loved to have seen Trump win in 2020, the better thing for acceleration was what we got, right? Having Joe Biden as the leader of the free world in the time we're in is perfect setup for Bitcoin. Now it's wishing for bad things to happen in a sense, right? So that's true, but it's less bad by going quicker than it could be by letting this thing perpetuate longer. And I'll explain why, right? So go back to this idea of Trump and accelerationism, him changing reality, him, let's say, smoking out the bandits, right? Look at what we see. So this is just an insight into what TDS has already done to benefit us for this accelerationism ride, right? Look at this. MSNBC writes, on an episode of Prosecuting Donald Trump. Remember, they have a podcast. It's on MSNBC, Prosecuting Donald Trump, right? So if you're confused about all like the states things he's got, like I can't keep all four of them always together. I have to remind myself all four each time, right? Because it's really hard to keep track of them. And they're all so technical and, those kinds of things. So on a new episode of Prosecuting Donald Trump, Andrew Weissman tells Mary McCord why he's done with Judge Eileen Cannon after she reprimanded special counsel Jack Smith over his warning about Donald Trump in the Florida documents case. So they're done with him, right? They're done with this guy. You get NBC writing this: former President Trump is responsible for the events. This is NBC News, right? Just coming out straight up saying this. NBC News writes, former President Trump is responsible for the events at the Capitol on January 6th because they were the culmination of his conspiracies to overturn the 2020 presidential election, Special Counsel Jack Smith's office says in a new filing. The answer to that is, and this is from Scott Adams, Trump's throbbing insurrection. That's the only way he describes it. I try to describe it that way too now, right? His throbbing insurrection. His throbbing insurrection, right? Isn't that perfect? His throbbing insurrection led to a satisfying culmination, right? And Scott says TDS is a form of porn addiction. It's a form of porn addiction, right? And you can see it. The crazy eyes, the crazy faces of Letitia James, right? Letitia James, who's ranting and raving about white people, too pale, too stale, all this stuff, right? Ranting about this shit. This is her actual words in one of the, and she's got the crazy eyes. She's doing this thing with another person's video, and she comes in and talking about how she's going to get Trump when she's elected. She goes, will you sue him for us? She says, oh, we're definitely going to sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally. He knows Letitia now. He knows Letitia, right? So what we've learned and what this new opportunity for Trump 3 is providing us is the most amazing contrast for accelerationism. When I said Trump 2016 was a perfect choice for accelerationism, Biden 2020, perfect choice for accelerationism. The perfect choice for 2024 accelerationism is both of them again together, a rematch, right? Now, I continue to not really believe it's happening. I can't imagine they're going to go with Biden. I just can't, right? I wish and I pray to Jesus, to the simulation, to anyone who can provide this result, please do it. But I still can't believe it's possible. It's too good. It would be too good. We're not that lucky, right? But nevertheless, as we've said many times, the simulation arcs and prefers and tends towards the most entertaining outcome. So indeed, it is an entertaining outcome to imagine, right? That these guys do another battle. And you're hearing it from all around, right? And putting these two in contrast, I think is going to produce this result. Now, here's what, let me just say why I love Biden so much, right? Let me just say why I love him in this role of accelerationist. He's as fit for the role of accelerationist as Trump is, right? So this comes from the real ZNO, and he does recap Biden's 47 years of accomplishments. Now, whoops, I'll show you just what it looks like. It's got all these dates on it. See, it's got all these dates on it. So now you'll see that some years, he puts every year since he's been in the 47 plus years. It begins in 73, right? Biden enters politics, right? So from 73 to 77, you don't get much, but you get this in 77. Biden fights to keep schools segregated because allowing blacks to integrate would create a racial jungle. That was his words, right? So that was 77. Then in 88, he runs for president, but ended his campaign after getting caught plagiarizing. So that happened, right? In 1994, he writes the crime bill. Do I need to go into detail? This is the crime bill is the one where, what do they call them again? What was the word they used for criminals again in this? I don't remember what they used, but it was crazy. 2008, he calls Obama articulate and clean. In 2010, he eulogized the KKK recruiter Robert C. Byrd. 2016, he called service members stupid bastards. I don't know. I mean, remember when they pulled that one on Trump, that he called servicemen stupid? I don't know. I don't think that one's true. 2019, he tells Americans, I'm not working for you. Don't be such a horse's ass. But here's the fun part. In 2020 to 2023, and this is the list of things, to me, that is the perfect setup for accelerationism. If you don't embrace accelerationism after this list, you don't get what we're trying to do here, right? This thing is unsalvageable. Here's what it is. Rigged election, botched Afghanistan withdrawal, $80 billion in military equipment to the Taliban, record high spending bills, supply chain shortages, energy dependent, re-entered Paris Agreement, admitted to no COVID plan, falls upstairs, not downstairs. He falls upstairs, right? Gave amnesty to 11 million illegal immigrants, record high inflation. Where am I? Record high gas prices, historic low petroleum reserves, lowest K-12 test scores in a decade, falls off a bike, canceled women, fentanyl crisis, $200 billion to Ukraine, trips over sandbag, classified documents, cocaine in the White House, normalization of pedophilia, child mutilation, $6 billion to Iran, record high American credit card debt, record homicide rates, most vaccinations taken, DOJ weaponization. Where am I? Open southern border and Hunter Biden. And of course, 2024, high probability of World War III. So, hey, it's hard to deny we want to keep him around. All right. We want to keep this guy around. We don't want him to go away right away. Right. He's doing great if you're interested in accelerationism. So, of course, now we see that we've got basically every major institution in the country, every one of them corrupt, right? And now we're supposed to believe that the odds of all 50 states having perfect election systems is 100%, right? Which is absurd. It's not possible, right? We already saw some stories last night about machines in Pennsylvania, votes getting flipped. Who knows, right? That's what some people are saying. DC Drano says breaking. Voting machines in Pennsylvania shut down after getting caught flipping votes. Democrats run that state and will cheat in any way possible, according to DC Drano. Enough is enough. Get rid of these damned rigged machines. So that's what it looks like, right? Now, the good news is our literacy about a lot of this stuff is getting better, right? We're able to understand and perceive the uniparty a lot better because of what's happened, right? The elections yesterday, big elections in the United States, not that big. Ohio, Pennsylvania, what were the other states? New Mexico, I think. A few states had some elections yesterday, right? It wasn't a big election. Some midterms, so it's only a few things. Looks like all the Republicans that aren't Trump supporters got wiped out. Anyone who had some Trump association did pretty well. If you were not on the Trump team, it looks like you were destroyed last night. If you were a Republican, and should we be surprised? Should we be surprised? Right. So here's Jim Jordan, right, who was running for speaker. He released the bombshell report on the censorship industrial complex 2 days ago. Shit we've been talking about here for months, like literally months. Like this guy is not even at 101 of Mike Benn's reporting. Jim Jordan. He's not even at 101 of Mike Benn's reporting, right? It was an interesting list, right? He talks about CISA, State Department, Stanford. We've heard about all the Stanford stuff, right? The Department of Homeland Security, how this whole machine works. As I've said many times, Mike Benn's probably the clearest bird's eye view on all of this stuff. I've been sharing every little bit of it with you. I think Mike Benn's has cleared up any confusion I had about how the machine worked. So Jim Jordan, God bless him, 2 days ago says bombshell report on the censorship industrial complex. He gives all kinds of, it's a thread, right? It's all the same things we've been talking about. There's some interesting stuff, right? At the request of CISA, there's a list of people that were targeted, right? I believe I've seen this list 100 times, but they say, again, this list is new. And by the way, I really wished I was on this fucking list. You guys got to get me on one of these lists one day, okay? You got to get me on one of these lists. I got to get on one of these lists. It's bullshit. I'm a terrorist, all right? I'm getting sued by the Illuminati, okay? How the hell don't I get on these lists? I see Newt Gingrich. I see Molly Hemingway. She's great. Charlie Kirk, he's fine. Jack possibly, he's cool. Real Candace Owens. But what about me? Come on. It's bullshit. I want to get on one of these lists. I'm so jealous of people who get on these lists. So jealous. I want to be on all of them. Okay? All of these lists. It's bullshit. All right? So anyway, here's what Steve Bannon said. Here's what Steve Bannon said about Jim Jordan, right? And this is uniparty stuff. He says, why did it take so long for Jim Jordan to put this out? Speaker McCarthy, who was bought and paid for by Sequoia and Big Tech, and Jordan, who's bought and paid for by Google and Big Tech. Why was this held to this moment, right? Why was it held to this moment? We don't know. We couldn't tell. There's no way for us to tell, but it's a great question. Steve Bannon asking the right questions. Now, Jesse Waters says the following about 2020, and put it in the context of the Uniparty, put it in the context of what we're up against, put it in the context of why we need accelerationism. Now, Jesse Waters is the fellow who took over for Tucker Carlson on Fox News, right? And I think Jesse's great. I really do. I think Jesse is one of those people who has a magical ability of making complicated legal things, complicated political things pretty simple, right? He's really good at just finding the straight line through the points and bringing you things that way. But here's what he says about 2020 and the CIA, right? It checks out to me, but I'm going to share it with you. He goes, Jesse Waters says CIA rigged 2020 because Trump threatened drug trafficking. And one of the many reasons Donald Trump was defeated was because the CIA had it with this guy, because he was threatening the cash flow, that and the China tariffs, among many other things. So when you threaten the donor money and you threaten the Democrat voters and you threaten the CIA cash flow, it's a problem. Joe Biden is such an agreeable empty suit. He's just letting it all happen, right? That's what I'm seeing. That's exactly what I'm seeing, right? We haven't had a president in control of this country since Kennedy was blasted on the street. We've had nothing of the sort. The president, remember even the border stuff? Imagine the United States President Donald Trump could not get the border wall built. Why? Why couldn't he secure the border? Is there someone above him? It looks like it. It looks like it wasn't that simple, right? The president does not carry the big stick anymore, and probably hasn't since they blasted Kennedy's brains out in '63, right? So that probably hasn't happened since then. So we're left in this situation where the good news is we're starting to perceive the uniparty better. And the reason why it's important, the reason why we need accelerationism comes exactly in this story here, right? And not a lot of people talking about it today, but I think it's one of the number one stories out there, and I'll tie it together. And that is something Thomas Massie did, right? So a few days ago, Thomas Massie wants to defund the kill switch implementation. Did you know that our crooked and corrupt Congress has passed a bill? Okay, it passed a bill, right? Which already states that cars that are sold in America after 2026 have to have a kill switch so that the government can kill the engine. Did anyone vote on that? Is that something that any of us were ever consulted on? Do you think that there is an appetite amongst American people to have a kill switch that won't let them run away from the government? It's more or less a Second Amendment thing, right? Like why arm the government against you? Now, was this ever discussed in any scale? No, of course not. It was kicked down the road to some regulatory body because Congress has already abdicated its authority, its responsibility, its interaction, its job to represent people. It doesn't. It represents donors, and we all know it. I don't even have to belabor the point. We know that, right? We've known it for a long time. So somehow Congress is so in the bag that they're passing bills where we don't even know that our cars can have a kill switch. I didn't know this was passed. Am I going to go out there in 2026 and buy a fucking car that can be shut down by the government? Of course not, right? We would burn down the car dealers before we would buy a car like that, right? So Thomas Massie's now trying to put an amendment to kill this kill switch, to kill the kill switch, right? So he says, if it passes, my kill switch amendment will defund the looming mandate that all new vehicles sold after 2026 be equipped with technology that can automatically disable vehicles. Spike Cohen says, first, applaud Massie for trying to take away government's ability to kill your car whenever it wishes. Then ask yourself why government would want the ability to kill your car whenever it wishes, right? So put that into context with the Augustine's car kill switch and car stens, right? Car stens. Now, I don't want to fat shame, but again, the simulation has delivered us the greatest central banker in the history of bankers. I think you all know that. You've heard it before, right? But that huge tub of shit that walks around talking about economics and CBDCs, he came out yesterday and said the following, right? So already he's an illiterate. He says CBDCs are central. Are they? They're central bank digital currencies, you fucking tub of shit. Central bank currencies are central. That's like his big breakthrough, right? Innovating financial systems, right? So he goes on about why we need a central bank digital currency. And he says, whether in wholesale form as a type of digital central bank reserve or retail form as a digital banknote, it is increasingly clear, at least to me, that these new forms of money will sit at the core of the future financial system, is what he said yesterday at a speech in Switzerland. So get this idea. Now, I don't like fat shaming. So the point here is not to point out that that this is him, right? What I mean to say is that it's perfect that he looks like this and is selling these ideas. Now, imagine him basically selling you the same thing. This is a car kill switch. It's a car kill switch on steroids, but it's the same story. Now, as we enter this period of World War III and out of World War III, go back to World War II, right? What were the symbols of the golden age coming out of World War II? Of course, it was the Harley Davidsons. It was American convertibles. It was Mustangs. It was Corvettes. It was freedom on the roads. It was the Eisenhower highway network running through. And it was this idea that you could just be free with your car, drive anywhere in the world or anywhere in America, and no one could stop you. So that was the symbol of the golden age coming out of World War II. Now we're looking to set up our breakout out of World War III, and they're saying kill switch on your car. It's the exact opposite, right? Which is perfect, which is actually perfect. So the desire and appetite that we now have for accelerationism, because of things like kill switch in the car, right? It's so basic to American understanding, and it's the kind of story that can actually be used to twist and make sense of the CBDC better than any academic argument about the CBDC. Like, I don't have to argue against car stems when I can just argue about cars and kill switches, right? So cars and kill switches, every American will understand it. Now, if you understand what's going on in American politics, you'll know that the reason why Joe Biden is even there is because Americans are low information voters. So Glenn Greenwald was on Tucker Carlson yesterday talking about exactly that, right? So Glenn Greenwald, really a symbol, I think, in many ways of the realignment of politics, right? So this was a guy who everyone would have considered a left-wing fella not long ago, but now the Democrats consider him a right-wing extremist Trump supporter. And so he was on Tucker yesterday. Again, a perfect match. This shows you the world we're in. Tucker Carlson and Glenn Greenwald politically aligned 100%. They did their show. Glenn Greenwald came on. Glenn was talking about how we're even in the position that we're in. He goes, just a few years ago, if you were an American politician and you were indicted for a crime, your political career was over. It was over, right? Now, he says, look at the crimes that Trump has been accused of, and it hasn't affected him. Look at the crimes they're not even talking about with Biden, and it hasn't affected him. So we're in this completely two separate worlds now, and one group just simply doesn't understand the degree to which they're brainwashed. One group sees the brainwashing, and that's the Republicans, and want to stop it, right? So he was going in and sort of explaining how war is used to manipulate Americans, how the poll numbers for Biden don't really matter because the media can sort of hide it. Now, they did talk a little bit about the media perhaps starting to change their tune with Biden. You can kind of see it out there, right? And by the way, here's the other prediction we saw yesterday, right? So if this happens, so to me, the only political, the number one political outcome for Bitcoiners in 2024, right? As much as I say Trump or RFK or others, right? Biden again wouldn't be that bad, but there is one better scenario, and it's the one I suggest all Bitcoiners embrace for 2024 because it has the effect that we want, which is accelerationism. And I think it's getting set up. I think it's happening. We've been joking about it for a while, but this is the best case scenario for Bitcoiners. All right. So Newsom, of course, is in the rumor mill. He's going to be the guy with Biden. Biden's getting criticized, right? So who comes out yesterday and takes a punch at Newsom? It's our man Fetterman. Fetterman comes out and he says he accuses Newsom of not having the guts to announce he's running for president. Someone tweeted and it went viral. Flapper.net says Fetterman is going to F around and end up as president somehow, which would be the best possible outcome. Having Fetterman as the candidate for 2024 Democrats is exactly what we need for accelerationism. He is the ideal accelerationist candidate. All Bitcoiners should get behind a Fetterman candidacy. We should do mail-in. We should do whatever we can to get him set up to be the next guy, because he would be great, right? We want Fetterman in that role. If we can't get him, we'll find someone else, but that could be the way, what we want. So the idea here being that accelerationism in all things, we can't salvage anything. The media's gone. Car industry's gone. It's gone. It's not coming back. Supply chains, cars are going to be completely different than anything we've ever seen. Everyone's seen that Toyota car for $10,000, the truck that people are talking about. You can only buy it in Mexico, can't buy it in America. It's a stripped down version. There's no computers, no microchips, nothing, right? Not even coffee holders, anything. But who doesn't want this car? It's the most beautiful truck I've ever seen. I'm going to go to Mexico and buy one, $10,000, no problem. The future of cars is that. They're simple, cheaper, fewer parts. I believe cars are going to be made in cottage industry ways again, with far fewer parts, made all over America, put together, and it's going to be great, right? So we're getting there. I'll read your contents your comment in a second, CB. Bob the Builder. So the solid state battery Toyotas coming out after this are actually amazing. So Toyota took a chance to not. Do you guys know how much Teslas weigh and all those other ones they weigh? Because they use magnets, right? It's not just the drivetrain battery; it's a magnet situation. So they're much heavier than combustion cars. The solid state batteries that Toyota has engineered are not the same drivetrain. They're literally just a battery and a very simple drivetrain. So I think the Toyota ones are going to be amazing. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Toyota more or less stopped making cars during COVID and revamped everything. Like I drive a Land Cruiser, an old one, an old Toyota Land Cruiser. But it's not even, it's a Lexus, but it's a Land Cruiser. And very old, not 20 years old, but almost. The best car you've ever driven in your life, the V8. It's a killer. It's just the greatest thing ever. Love it. I love it. But they're going to come up with new Land Cruisers that are simpler, cheaper than ever. Their prices are coming down compared to the American cars. Their prices are coming down, right? So cheaper cars, and like much cheaper than they were. The Land Cruiser, I think, is tens of thousands of dollars cheaper than it used to be for the new models. So it's incredible. They've really, I think, hit the nail on the head. I don't know if they survive this. This is such a confusing, changing time, but I think they'll be fine. I think they're at the forefront of what is going to happen. So I can't wait to have a super inexpensive sub $10,000 EV. Right? We're not quite there, but I'll get that. Right? I will get a sub $10,000 EV. Doesn't Tesla have kill switches already? So rebuilding old cars will be a growth cottage industry. Yes, Dean, that's exactly what I'm predicting. I'm predicting old car shells with futuristic, simple drivetrains. So engine removed, the chassis stuck to you'll be able to buy basically the wheel connected to a battery and a supercapacitor, and whatever motor turns the wheels from the battery. So it'll be parts that you can buy and just put into an old car frame, and that's going to be the way we get around. Now, fixing up old cars is part of it. I think the scale of the cars will also change, because you're going to start to get much smaller. So I can predict, like, those old beautiful, like I just mentioned, those 1950s like Corvettes and stuff. I don't buy new cars either, Dan. Those old Corvettes and stuff like that. Or those old Porsches from the 50s, even better. I think you're going to see you're already seeing them online, so don't take my word for it. Just go look at these new type of EVs that people are already making that are really small and already sub $10,000 or $5,000, and you'll see they make them like little convertibles and Porsches but not branded Porsche, but that aesthetic, just gorgeous little roadsters and stuff like that. 3-seaters, 2-seaters, all kinds of stuff. So you can see already what I'm talking about in Florida right now. They have Mokes. You ever seen a Moke, an M-O-K-E or a M-O-A-K? I forget. They're those. It's almost like a Jeep, but it's low to the ground. Like it's not a Jeep jacked up with big tires. It's a beach Jeep, I guess you can say. And they have like tarp convertible roofs. You can just unbutton them and take them off. They've been around forever. They were gas cars. They were all over France for a long time, in England. We have a lot of them in Barbados. That's how I know about them. But I've seen them drive around Miami now, and they're electric and they're brand new. They're like a redo of an old car, totally redone, smaller scale a little bit, like golf cart size, and road legal, street legal. You can't go on a highway, but you can cruise up and down A1A or the whatever that Sunset Drive is, or the Beach Drive. So there you go. Bob the Builder, when I talk about EVs, it's because I live in Italy and we weren't ready at all, and we don't have infrastructure, and the population can't even afford them, but our gov is forcing people. Yeah, so my what I'm saying, Bob, is they're going to be so cheap and not from the normal car industry. I can imagine like a Fiat style tiny thing, but they don't go fast. They don't drive on normal roads. None of that stuff, right? Italy's gonna be fine. Italy will be fine with this. It's already. Where did I see it was already happening? Look at Paris. Look at Paris. I just read that Paris has become more or less like Amsterdam within a year. Like no time at all, they turned Paris into something like Amsterdam. In that there's bikes everywhere. They closed a bunch of streets. My prediction is New York will have that next. Once New York does it, it's going to happen everywhere. New York is going to close 1/3 of its streets, I predict, and it'll just be for these delivery Amazon things, and they're called golf carts. Yeah, they're golf carts. Yeah. I'm actually talking about golf carts. Yeah, I'm talking about golf carts. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of Europeans don't see it because, well, that's not true. I've seen people in southern France drive golf carts around to do groceries and stuff like that. So it exists, like some of the retiree type of people. They are tin cans. Yeah. Yeah. I had a Fiat once. I had the American Fiat long one, the like the SUV one. It's not long. I gave it to my parents. I bought it for my wife a few years ago, and that was my car for a little bit in New York until I bought the Lexus because of lack of respect on the New York City streets. If you don't drive if it's an arms race in New York, if you don't drive a massive car, you're going to get killed. That's why I bought the Lexus. But I still drive I gave it to my parents. I still drive it. I love it. It had the full glass roof and everything, and I had it jacked up because of the model that I bought. It was great. It's still running fine. It's a 10-year-old car. It's doing great. I bought it when it first came out, when they first came back. All right. So accelerationism, guys. Everything's breaking. We got to embrace it. Accelerationism or die, right? Accelerationism will lead to a 2028 Bitcoin standard globally. That's my prediction. All right. Let's see where we are. All right. Let's see. God bless you all. Every day, walking with Christ. God bless you all, racists. Good morning from Wisconsin. Good racist morning to you as well, friend. Overregulations create disrespect to law. Civil disobedience runs amok. That's where we're at. We're all scofflawers. Look up Intrinsic Exchange Group. Just when you thought Mother Nature was invaluable, with the stock exchange is valued at 5 more than all assets. Monetized nature. Yeah, not good. JFK until this very day, it been continuously monitored. Media matrix, mayhem, bullshit, lying, Hollywood generated lies. And we've known for a long time who killed him now, right? We've known here on this show for like a year. America's become a weapons factory, masquerading as a country. Absolutely. Count BTC won't. So CB, the count BTC on YouTube. Count BTC on Rumble is not really where I run live content. On Rumble, I run it through Bitcoin Magazine. The Rumble account, Count BTC, only gets backup YouTube. It's on automatic backup. So I back up my YouTube shows onto my Rumble channel, but it's shit technology. And so not all of them get backed up. Don't ask me why. But if you want to try anyway, Bitcoin Magazine's Rumble channel, that's where this show actually gets the biggest views. I think we get about 3, 4, 5, 6. We've had over 110,000 viewers per episode before, but we get lucky algorithmically when that happens. I guess I haven't been able to predictably pump the show through the Rumble algorithm yet. I just sometimes get juiced and it goes. So that's great. Sign sad dad. We'll figure it out. So try the Rumble thing and see if you get notified. Fetterman has done some dirt in his career to be in the position he's in, though he's literally retarded now. Bet he buried the bodies. It would be whatever. We want him. President. I will never buy anything. And indeed, we had a confirmation that Tesla indeed does have kill switches. Scheduled obsolescence is a fiat remnant that we will not accept in the Bitcoin standard. It's not going to be there anymore. Yeah, the whole car industry is fiat. The whole thing, it's garbage. Volkswagen Touran and Polo from 03, 2012. Yeah, my because I've been through a few cycles with Bitcoin already. I bought a 2008 Toyota Solara convertible in Miami, where I cruised around Miami 2021 in this old convertible. It's in great shape, black. It's in fine shape. I gave that to my parents too because my kids hate it, believe it or not. But I bought that so that I could cross the border into Canada and quarantine. Because if you flew, the motherfuckers threw you into a hotel quarantine, filthy, and that was not happening. So I quarantined at my house in Canada. But I needed to cross the border by car. So what I did was I bought the car in Miami, had it for the month that we were there, flew my kids to New York and picked them up. I got a sick deal on that Toyota too. And here's what happened. I got to Miami, 2 days before the show, the 2021 Bitcoin Miami, one of the greatest shows in the history of the industry. And that's where, of course, Bukele announced legal tender status. Coming to Taiwan, by the way. We got to cover that at some point. I've been meaning to cover that. So at the time, you couldn't actually, it was very difficult to buy a used car. Remember, 2021. Everyone was going to Miami. Everybody was there. The problem was what you thought you were getting on. Well, here's what happened. When you went to buy a car, you would look online like every human being, right? But what was online was not accurate because cars were moving so quickly in the country, in the city, that it was useless. You found out within 10 minutes that everything that was being advertised online was a scam and not real. So you had to actually visit car dealers yourself. And I got super lucky. I didn't even know I was after that car. Because not many 4-seat convertibles with a trunk. I needed a trunk and I needed 4 seats. So not that many, right? So I finally find one, and the roof is ripped. And as I see it, a huge cloud comes over and starts pouring rain, just torrential downpour, Miami, June stuff, right? Just pouring. And I go to the car and I can see it coming in the rip in the tarp roof. And I'm like, shit, this guy, I'm going to go deal with this. So I go inside, Jewish guy behind the thing, right? And we start dealing, right? Israeli guy. And I tell him, this thing's going to rot. You have to pay. You have to give it to me. You can't let it go through another storm. You're going to lose everything. So remember, things are nuts at this point in secondhand cars, I can't find one of these cars for under $10,000 used anywhere online, and online isn't even accurate, and there's bidding wars and everything. So I tell this guy it's got 130,000 miles on it, not that much, right? And it's a Toyota Camry, basically. So I figure I can fix whatever's wrong with it. It's running though, everything's going fine. It's just the roof. He tells me you can't actually fix the roof. right? There's no one who does that anymore. All the roofs have gone metal. I'm like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to figure this out. So I say, I'll give you 4,000 cash here, right? So I'm like less than half. I just absolutely lowball the guy and I fucking keep going at him, right? I'm going to take it off the lot right now. Just get it. And then finally he gives up and I take it. $4,000, not bad, not bad. $4,000, and it's still running fine. It's still going great. I don't have any problems with it. I don't, like I said, my kids hated it. They don't like the wind, so we drove it home. I just gave it to my parents, and I don't really need it. So there you go. Fun stories, cars. All right, team. Toyota used cars. Build Biden better. Lawlessness has consequence. Social disengagement and destruction of civility. Bitcoin restores order, economic equality, and social justice. I agree with that. I know there are those used car auctions where natural events occurred that are in the US where you can find good cars for good value. Did those still take place? Oh, yeah, sure they do, Bob. But the problem, Bob, is that you're actually bidding against. It's a hard business. I've thought about it before many times. But you're bidding against such regulars at the auctions that are trying to buy multiple cars at once and fill their lot with them. So it's the dealer. You have to go against the dealers, basically. And I had a friend. So there was a business that was very popular because Japanese people and Korean people don't really drive used cars, and the country's too small to store used cars. So there's a massive business buying new used, so 2 or 3 years old, 5 max, and selling them to the Middle East in big cargo ships. And I knew a guy who did this job. He was an Iraqi refugee living in Seoul, Korea, and I was friends with him. And he used to just go to the lot with a marker and just buy cars, right? Just like bang, bang, bang. He could buy like 100 at a time. So you can't you can't compete against that guy. He doesn't give a shit. He'll throw an extra $1,000 if that's the one he wants. He doesn't care about your, like, if you're going to buy one car. So that's just one guy in a different country, but you've got that here. So the problem is, it is possible. It is possible. But if it wasn't bought by a savvy auction guy, it's because he knew something was wrong with it, right? So I've thought to buy cars that are in excellent condition in Dubai and resell them in Europe. Yeah, well, you're getting a double resold then. So Bob, I would go straight to the source. They're coming. There's a lot of people who do this out in Korea. I think you can even buy these things online in Korea and Japan. There's so many of them. Again, they don't have any place to put used cars there. So you got to understand that they're like heavily incentivized to get them out of the country. There's a whole business that makes it cheap to get them out because they got no place to put them, right? It's such small places. So, and they can't pile up all this steel and shit, right? Yeah, I guess they can recycle it, but the cars are in great shape, right? Yeah, it's such a huge market and underrated. Yeah. So the problem with the Japanese ones is they're on the wrong side. So got to be careful of that. Check out the Korean ones, though. They're great. They're great. All right, team. That's all I got for today. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me again in the morning. We love it, right? We love it. We love getting together. Always great. Peace, everyone.